Hello, everyone, and welcome to the channel. Welcome to this week's reading. You know me as Stan the Shadow Seeker, and I am doing my weekly reading for my beautiful collective. And we're just going to jump right into the reading. And I am using the What's the Vibe deck to open up this reading. And I started this reading out a little bit differently because I was feeling some really interesting energy. So I feel like this reading is going to be a little bit different from past readings. And immediately I'm feeling the energy that we are talking about a specific person. And I believe this person, or rather what it feels like, is this person is someone that you are soul aligned with. So someone that you have a deep either karmic or soul bond connection with. And it may look different in many different ways. It may resonate with you as a twin flame, as a really strong friendship, but it feels like it's more than just friends. This could be a romantic partner, ex-lover. And so the first card that we have here is the apology card. This card says arrogant, it says rash actions, and it says insincere. And one thing I really love about this card, and please keep in mind I'm a intuitive tarot reader, so I really utilize my clairsentience when it comes to these readings. And I am just, really captivated by the imagery of the card because, it's this cat. This cat just looks really nutty. It just looks really, kind of like cheeky. And the strongest thread of energy that I get is, someone in the past has really made some sort of poor choice when it came to you. They may have acted out on fear, confusion, ego, or their actions really felt unaligned, or, you may have felt dismissed in a sense. But a lot of that time is past. This really feels like past energy that has sort of kind of crept back up. And keep in mind, we may or may not still be in Mercury retrograde. And I really have not been checking to see, what type of astrological events are happening at the moment. But if we are still in Mercury retrograde, I hope, by the way, if we are, someone will let me know in the comments. It's very kind of rare to get comments, but because we're so early on in this channel. But if someone would leave a comment, that would be great, just to let us know. But, old things, cycles, events, feelings, that were once buried deep are, definitely resurfacing. And this energy primarily feels like someone ghosted you without closure. They said harsh words, or they were very arrogant with the way that they expressed themselves. And it really made you feel small or replaceable. And they never really gave you a true explanation of how they felt, or an explanation of the type of behavior that they demonstrated towards you. It's almost like spirit is really saying, you may never hear the words, but you really felt the weight of what was going on in this particular connection. So it just feels really deep, and it just really feels like just something that happened very like quickly, and almost like this person had like no care about what they were doing, handling the scenario between the both of you. So it really feels deep, at least for you it does. For this other person, it feels deep as well, but it just feels as if they really, went about it like they didn't care. And so the next card is the soulmate card, which says twin flame, friendship, and it says romantic partner. So it's really funny that that came out too. Not funny like haha, but it is kind of funny that that came out because this card really confirms the emotional intensity. And it really demonstrates here that what you felt is not imaginary. So if you felt a certain spark, or if you felt your intuition really tugging in a specific way, and something within your gut that this other person, no matter how they demonstrated how they were going about things in the 3D, deep down within that that's not truly how they felt about you. So it really feels that whether this person is currently in your life or not, that no matter how complicated things were between you two, that it was real and it was divinely aligned. But I'm sensing a strong thread of karma or karmic energies. So a lot of that connection was meant to teach you something or meant to elevate you to learn a certain spiritual lesson that you may still have not learned quite yet. And so, really, this card is really showing up, really telling you that not all soulmates, no matter how strong that bond may feel, are really not meant to stay, that they do shift. And it really, that shift, it comes from within. Like they really change you, and that there's still some sort of soul work that needs to be completed. And honestly, it feels like a choice may need to be made very soon. So whether that's spirit aligning something for you to, kind of work something that was unresolved, or whether that, is a culmination of if we're still in Mercury retrograde or not, and spirit, really kind of just working in the background here, really, catalyzing something. That's not the right word, but, really gathering something together to really show you something, to help you get through whatever that was unresolved. That is really happening right now. So a lot of this energy is really kind of circling right now. And so right now you might want to ask yourself, are you open or are you guarded by whatever occurred in the past? So that's really what that feels like right now. And this last card says longing, and it says missing you, let's talk reunion. So someone is really actually thinking very deeply about a reconnection or a reunion. So it's almost like their higher self is really nudging them right now, or it could be their spirit guides or spirit team, and they may be waking up emotionally, and although they may not have reached out yet, their energy is actually very present. So this could manifest in many different ways. A lot of dream visitations, so you're having a lot of dreams about this person, a lot of random memories, or you might suddenly hear a song and think of this person, or have a flashback, or you might be encountering, certain synchronicities, like seeing their name a lot or seeing something that is associated with that person, like a birth date or a specific date, or just something that only you would really notice because that's spirit, like sending you a direct message, but it's something that is just so like inconspicuous that you would only recognize it. So that's spirit really trying to get you to remember the lesson, not necessarily maybe about the person, so to speak. And that actually, that little bit of energy right there, that really is for someone else. So it's not for everyone, but the main message here is that, okay, even though this person may be deeply thinking and longing about some kind of reunion or reconnection with you, that it's not a guarantee. This card is not a guarantee of a union, okay? But it's a window. And so what you do, really kind of determines what happens, okay? Because we all have free will. But what you want to remember, honestly, is that not every return means reconciliation. Sometimes it's about reclamation. Now, for those of you that have been like keeping up with all of these readings, that I've been doing ever since the channel has begun, a lot of these messages are, even messages like these that talk about reunions or a specific person, you know, honestly, all of these messages always talk about healing. And so, what I'm feeling right now is that if you are being shown something that's related to someone from your past or someone that's circling right now in your energetic field, what's really happening right now is spirit is opening up a window so that way you can receive only what honors your healing. And so if that door actually opens again, right now you have to really think to yourself, okay, do you want to welcome this person in or simply nod and move from the threshold of, what this person once represented? So it may look like a reconciliation, because that type of energy may be circling very heavily right now. But honestly, what it is, it's a reclamation. It's for you to reclaim something that you haven't reclaimed or that you've lost, from that connection. So that's really what this spread is about. So I just wanted to make that very clear because I don't want people to get lost in a fantasy or get lost in some sort of like what if scenario, because that's not what we talk about here on this channel. I only deliver, the strongest threads of energy that I feel. So, and that's definitely what I'm feeling here. So I want to get a few more cards to kind of, describe this energy or for what it is you need to know, rather. Okay, now as we move forward in this reading, the next card is the family card, and it says blood ties and it says inner circle. Now, this is a really interesting card to get because what this feels like is a blockage, because it feels like this card is highlighting some sort of ancestral or familial entanglement that could be really influencing someone's emotional availability or life path at this moment. So, this would be your person that we're speaking to right now. So, there really feels like this collective sense that what's going on is that many people are still living from inherited programs and it's delaying their soul's desires when it comes to moving forward. So, it feels like this person, may very well feel like your soul connection, but they're really chained to something from ancestry, from their bloodline. And it really feels like a belief system that, could have been inherited, some sort of like religious shame or gender roles, excuse me. I had to think about what I just said. And, that only really connects with a few of the people in the collective, but there is something that is centered around blood ties and the inner circle when it comes to an ancestral bond. So, someone is really tied to something with like family trauma, is what it feels like. And that's preventing a lot of forward movement here. Now, we also have the time card. So, this says delay, procrastination, and it says too busy. So, this really confirms what you have already felt, that there's a lot of spiritual timing at play. And whether or not you are feeling this consciously, you're definitely feeling this deep within your subconscious or within your gut. So someone is really stalling emotionally and they're not really ready to face like what's, really happening here or what's rising. So it's almost like your mind is saying, I want this, but the nervous system is like really saying like, not yet. Or you could think about it like this, where it's like, there's a clash between the head and the heart. And that's what it feels like. And so it really reflects like an internal conflict between rushing a reunion and letting it unfold organically or naturally. So it's almost like the soul knows where it's going, but it's like the body is dragging behind. Like it's, you know, delaying, or it's like not keeping up in a sense, and that actually happens a lot during like reclamation or integrations, where it's like your soul knows something, but it's like your body is just not keeping up yet. And so once it like finally like integrates, that's when everything like comes into place, and that's when, it's time for you to really like be still, not try to force something to happen. And so that's really what this card is highlighting here. So that actually speaks to a lot of blockages that are going on right now too. Now, this running card, okay, this says escape, denial, excuses. And this is like really the most honest card in this group right here, of threes that we're talking about. And that's a common theme from a lot of these readings, 333. But what this really feels like is someone avoiding pain, accountability, avoiding intensity that feels too big to handle right now. And so this is like your karmic mirror. So it's like when someone is like running, you know, they're running because something gets too real, you know, and they pretend like they're too busy, or maybe they're hiding behind like some sort of like family or routine pattern or something like that. So, it just really feels like someone is really like awakening to the depth of whatever this soul bond is. And so this could be you, this could be this other person, this could be both of you, because I'm feeling like two different energies here. And so it's like they're longing, they're thinking, you know, and it's really thinking about this reunion, thinking about, the return, but there's a lot of family trauma. There's a lot of ancestral burdens that are really shaping this person's decision, And let me just tell you, the bond is real. The connection is definitely sacred, but, the timing has to match the healing. That's what this feels like. And so someone here is not fully healed from something from the past, and that's preventing a lot of these delays here. So this is really, really interesting energy, and this is just from the Oracle. So we're going to switch to the Tarot and see what comes out there. Okay, so moving to the Tarot, we have the Queen of Pentacles in the reverse position. This really is some beautiful energy. And the only reason why I say that is because, all queens are beautiful energy, really, because they really talk about a lot of, truth. But this is in the reverse position in this reading. And so this is really pointing to a lot of misalignment, especially when it comes to self-worth. And it talks about emotional depletion, especially in the 3D. And so someone here is really, in this state of giving and giving and giving and giving, but they're not always receiving, or they don't believe they deserve to receive. Now, it really feels more like this over nurturing, or sort of like being the quote unquote healer in relationships. So, someone's always giving and giving and they're not really receiving, that type of energy. And there's also threads of energy of feeling alone, or trying to mask, being like hyper independent right now. And I'm also sensing this thread of energy when it comes to financial stress, and it's really linked to your sense of identity or stability. And so, really, someone here is trying to look stable on the surface, but spiritually speaking, they're still learning how to receive support and not just give it. So, that's like really, really deep. And honestly, that really is highlighting a lot of what we call karmic echoes, and delays when it comes to forward movement. And this type of movement is internal, so it's not external. Even though this is a pentacle card, I was going to say 3D. Pentacles, talk about, your 3D circumstances. And because this is, queen card, this is um, pretty, heavy energy. And so, it just really feels really like deep, that we're talking about, like deep within your core type of energy. So if you're an earth sign, this definitely going to resonate with you. So just keep that in mind, but you don't have to be an earth sign. And so the next card is we have the High Priestess, and that's reversed as well. So this is highlighting a lot of blocked intuition right now. So it really suggests right now that a lot of people are second guessing their inner voice, or ignoring their intuition, or even ignoring signs, especially signs that spirit is really sending you right now that are coming in very loud and clear. And it's also indicating smaller threads of energy, like a fear of seeing the truth clearly, or when it comes to distrusting divine timing, distrusting spirit right now, or really suppressing the divine feminine wisdom that we all have inside of us. Now, when we speak of that type of, archetype, or that type of dynamic, when I say divine feminine, that's an energy, archetype dynamic. So we all have this balance of masculine and feminine energies. And so right now, this could be really resonating for you right now, this particular card. But it really feels like right now, like the soul is awake, but the ego is like really kind of like, shouting over it right now, is what spirit is trying to come across here in this reading. And so somebody here might be like really feeling the pull, but it's like they're not really like spiritually mature enough to really kind of trust it, is what this feels like, because there's just a lot of doubt. There's a lot of sort of like pretending, if that makes sense. And I really feel like more of that energy is being highlighted with the next card, the Eight of Swords reversed. So, you know, this is like the mental prison card, especially when it's upright. Okay, but this is reversed. And so a lot of what really actually is sort of keeping you trapped is, it's going to be dissolved, is what it feels like. This is really spirit saying you can heal, you can let this go, you can stop waiting. You're not trapped, you're not in a cage, you're not in a prison. And this is really sort of like your signal of like a breakthrough after some sort of spiritual fatigue or burnout. Okay. But it's only going to come when the collective that I'm speaking to here, stops trying to figure everything out and starts really listening to like their inward voice, when they actually listen to their divine feminine wisdom energy that we all have within us. But somebody just isn't quite ready yet. So, it's in a sense kind of sad, but I mean, if you're not ready, you're not ready. And you can only move when, you feel like moving. I mean, spirit can only kind of do so much, but I will be honest with you, if spirit wants you to be at a certain place, it will definitely make sure that you're there. Okay. And it's not out of any kind of punishment, but it's just all divine timing, so to speak. So, just keep that in mind. But yeah, let's see what else comes out here. Okay, so I drew a oracle card from the Akashic Records deck, and this is a card I haven't seen yet before. This is a really interesting card. It says victim mindset. So I've never drawn this before in a reading, and it says you feel the world is against you, and this will only cause you to attract more negative results. Stop the blame and take responsibility for your happiness. Only then will abundance start to flow. Now, this is really interesting because, I'm really captivated here by the imagery. So there's this butterfly, and at first I didn't notice the woman that the butterfly was sitting on. I thought it was sitting on a rock, but it's sitting on a woman. But what's really interesting is the barrier that's between the butterfly and the woman. And so it's almost like this woman is sort of trapped in a sense. And she's trapped in this web, which is really kind of interesting. So that's kind of like symbolic. Really, it kind of goes back to like that Eight of Swords. I was going to say Eight of Cups. It really, is symbolic of that because that really, physically shows that this lady is, trapped, that she really is immobilized in a sense. But you know, what's really captivating me is this butterfly. When you think of butterflies, you really do think of freedom. You think of being unbridled. You think of being, set loose to be able to fly, to be able to, kind of come and go as you please or do as you please. And so, really, it feels like, right now you're kind of stuck where it's like you're in between being this woman and being this butterfly. But really, it's almost like a feeling where it's like you are this butterfly, but it's like you're not choosing to just spread your wings and just fly. You're choosing to be, this woman that's stuck, in this cobweb. So that's really kind of sad in a sense, and a little depressing, I hate to say. But I mean, it really just speaks so many different volumes, I mean, it really does. Now, for those of you that don't know, and this might be a little side message here before we conclude the reading, I have this book of shadows that I keep a lot of spiritual, information in, a lot of spells, rituals, but just a lot of esoteric knowledge, that I like to go back to every so often, because I really try to gather as much spiritual information as I possibly can from many different sources. And so I do want to read just a little bit about what I had transcribed in my personal book of shadows, because I use this book of shadows in a non-traditional sense because, typically it's like, a spell book or recipe book for, witches and witchcraft and whatnot. But for me, it's more about esoteric knowledge and, many different forms of spirituality. And so the little bit that I have here about butterflies is the spiritual significance of them is number one, transformation and metamorphosis. And so the butterfly is the ultimate symbol of transfiguration. So it teaches us that death, symbolic or literal, is not the end, that it's the sacred in between. And so the caterpillar doesn't just become a butterfly, it dissolves into formlessness inside of the chrysalis. And so, what you might want to ask yourself is, or say to yourself, what feels like being on pause is actually the dissolving of your old self. You're not stuck, you're just incubating light. Now, butterflies also represent soul rebirth and ascension. So they are often a sign of soul level awakening, especially after intense grief, karmic release, or shadow integration. They appear when your spirit has just freed itself from an old timeline. They can also represent messages from spirit or departed souls. And they also are representing lightness after weight. So they can symbolize the return of joy, levity, grace after a period of heaviness or grief. And it also symbolizes not caring what is no longer needed, that it's transformation that gives you wings to soar, is what I wrote. And so I also wrote this: if a butterfly appears in a reading, it can represent a few things: the end of a karmic soul contract, a new soul entering your life, a dream becoming real, or the arrival of spiritual sovereignty. So, those might be some things that may resonate with you with this particular reading, since this does have a butterfly imagery on it. So, that actually is very powerful right there. And for some reason, I kind of want to mention too Mariah Carey's Butterfly album, which at the time was very a heavy moment for her. And so that particular album was really a culmination of her really metamorphosizing. That's not really a word, but being in a metamorphosis where she was able to transmute a lot of that particular pain that she was going through and really soaring and transforming into a butterfly and really, stepping more into her freedom. And so that's essentially, kind of the backbone of this reading. So I just wanted to kind of point that out there too. So I hope that does resonate in some sense or capacity for you. Now, I do want to draw one last tarot card just to kind of sum up everything. And then I'd want to draw one last oracle card as well. And I'm going to shuffle and do that right now. Okay, and the last tarot card in this reading is the Four of Swords in the upright position. So this is beautiful energy. This is definitely the rest and retreat card. This is all about, sacred pause, mental healing, integration. So this is really your invitation from spirit right now to really just pause and integrate everything that's happening right now for you, to just let things be. Don't try to force specific outcomes. Don't try to, force, anything to really happen the way that you might desire it to happen or want things to happen. This is really just you right now needing to just allow things to just unfold in a natural, serene way, the way that it's meant to. Or really just to just let spirit take over, to just let spirit do what spirit does best. This is for you to do that right now. And so when you do that, things will start actually falling into place because you've just surrendered. You've just allowed spirit to take the reins, so to speak, and to also rejuvenate yourself, to be able to rest and, reclaim your power, reclaim your strength, not just in the physical world, but in the emotional and spiritual realm as well. Because I really do sense a lot of fatigue in many different energies with the collective. There's a lot of different threads that are coming out, but I'm really only focusing on the strongest threads for the collective. And so that's where I'm really going at right now with this particular reading. So it's really time for you to just be still. That's really what spirit is just saying and wants you to do. So if you can just, take that in mind and just surrender, then you'll start seeing things really playing out in your favor. If you remember the rules of, manifestation or the universal law of manifestation, you can follow that as well. We won't get into that, but if you know that, if you want to look that up, be my guest, that definitely will help you out during this trying time. But as I always say in previous readings too, definitely don't forget your mindfulness practices and, remember to take care of yourself and to do things for yourself as well. And really put yourself first because that's really what spirit is wanting you to do, especially in this particular situation as well. Now, we do have one final oracle card as well. And that card that came out is the obligation card. It says, stop telling yourself you should. When you cater to others or to unnecessary expectations of yourself, you stop your flow of abundance. So, again, this is definitely a direct message from spirit, your guides, your soul tribe, your spirit team, whatever higher power you align with. This is definitely them saying, okay, it is time for you to surrender. It is time for you to be still, to just let things flow naturally. Don't try to, overstep your boundaries or try to, manifest a particular outcome. And when I say that, what I mean is like, don't try to, actively try to assert yourself in a particular way to try to have a particular outcome happen for you. Just let it flow naturally, is basically what these cards are saying, these final cards. So, with that, I am going to conclude the reading. I definitely want to thank all of you for extending your beautiful high vibrational energy to the reading. I definitely feel like this was a slightly different message than a lot of the readings from the past. So I do hope something here resonates for you. If it doesn't, please only take what does and let the rest, be for whoever needs to hear it, and let that, sink in for that person, let that align for them. And I do want to thank everyone again, and I do hope everyone has a wonderful, blessed, safe remainder of their day. And I will see you in the next reading.